Thank you for joining me once again on Global Conference TV. You are watching Inspired Conversations, Living the Legacy with Legends. In pursuit of purpose, joy, peace and happiness, passion becomes necessary. Every one of us must be passionate about our work. Heroes, legends who have made it big, who have made impact in this life, were passionate about what they were doing. Mthobisi Ndaba is a social worker, inspirational speaker and author, and he has written an entire book titled Pushed by Passion, and is here with us today to share more about passion. Mr. Mthobisi, thank you, sir, for coming, and you are welcome.
No, thank you for having me, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, let's just start from the beginning. Who is Mthobisi Ndaba?
I always find it difficult to answer that question because it's hard to separate or to think about the who and not the what I'm doing. But I am a Zulu Christian boy from KZN. I am a social worker, as you've already mentioned, by profession, but I'm also a budding academic, so I'm doing my PhD in education. I am very passionate about education. I'm an author of 2 books. First one is Incubating Excellence. The second one is Pushed by Passion, which is the one you have now. And I am a speaker, inspirational speaker. And that's just about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the show? Are you not?
Oh, okay. And I host the Jumpstart Show. So the Jumpstart Show is a video series based on a book that I'm working on right now. But mostly what we do is to try and inspire other people using other people's stories, because I've realized that the power of my message lies in my story. And if I can create a platform for other people to tell their own stories, then we could be able to inspire a whole lot of people, because not everyone will be inspired by my story. But when they hear your story and somebody else's story, they get inspired. Yeah.
That's powerful. And then, as you have mentioned, you've written a book, Pushed by Passion. Yeah. and I believe that you were pushed by passion to write this book. But what actually inspired you? Apart from you inspired by passion, what inspired you?
Okay, so this book was inspired by my following my passion. When I started university, I started in electrical engineering, and in the middle of the year, I realized that it wasn't really my passion. It wasn't something I was passionate about. It wasn't something I wanted to follow and pursue as a career, because especially on the Fridays when it was lab day, I would feel like I'm suffocating in the lab, and I could not imagine myself, doing that throughout my whole life. So I decided I'm going to change, because this is something I wasn't passionate about. I'm going to follow my passion. Then I changed for social work when I started my second year at university. So from that experience, as I started, speaking and encouraging others, also sharing my story in those places where I would be speaking to people, I realized that there's something about that experience that completely changed my life. And that was being pushed by passion. Because when I made that decision to change from engineering to social work, a lot of people did not really think it was a good move. It doesn't make sense financially. Yeah. It also doesn't make sense even in terms of status. An engineer has higher social status than a social worker would have. But it wasn't about the status. It wasn't about the money that I would get paid as a social worker, but it was about following my passion and doing something that I'm more passionate about. And in sharing this, it was also sharing what that experience from that story. And the second thing that really inspired this is my understanding that God has a purpose for my life, and there is a close connection between the idea of passion and the idea of purpose, because in the book I say that passion is the intrinsic motivational force that pushes you in the direction of God's purpose for your life. So that then in that way, the Christian aspect of me inspired also my writing of this book, and then my personal experiences in my academic journey.
All right, but because the book you have written it not for yourself actually, but for people, did you maybe discovered that there are people who are going the same experience that you're going, who are actually doing what they don't love, but because of the status, as you have said, because of maybe financial drive, maybe they are doing such things, especially students, as you are students. Have you discovered that?
It's true. There's a lot of people who are having such an experience, and as a result, they're living very frustrated lives. You know, when you go and I spoke a lot on the book before it was released, and then I would have conversations with people after the talk, and they would say that I'm stuck in an accounting firm, but I want to be in dramatic arts. I want to be doing performing arts, and those things are there, and people are living very frustrated lives because of that.
So, what is your encouragement, mainly when you speak to them about following their passion? I mean, someone will say, "Will the passion pay my bill?" You understand? So, what is, like, for example, as you have said, I mean, you have left engineering, go to social work, totally different things when it comes to status and ranking. So, when someone asks you such questions, how do you help such people?
I think that the problem I often see when I get that question, it is because it is that people only think of passion as something you do as a career. But as I said, there's a close connection between God's purpose for your life and your passion, because as I said, I define passion as an intrinsic, internal motivational force that will push you in the direction of purpose, right? And it doesn't mean that it has to be your career. Okay. Passion has multi dimensions, and purpose has multiple dimensions. So when you look at it as just a career, then you will be limited, because you will say, "Hey, I can't follow my passion because if I do that, then it won't pay me as much." But the other thing I also have realized is that when you are passionate about something, you would always make it work. It doesn't matter what it is; it will always make it work. If you can't make it work, then maybe it's not really your passion. You're just motivated, or you just have an interest in it.
Is passion automatic, or you develop it? Is it automatic? Is it like natural, or you must develop it?
That's a difficult question, but this is how I think of it. Obviously, it can be a contested idea, but this is how I think of it. As I said, it's internal. It's inside of you. It is something that lies within you, and it is a push. Then if you are following your passion, it's not something that you're developing. You develop an interest, but passion comes from within. Okay. Right? Okay. Comes from within. You develop an interest. Yeah, I'm interested in music now, in this kind of music. I'm interested in this kind of sport. And over time it dies. But I believe that when it is passion, it never dies. You can suppress it with other things that that you have interest on, but it will always be there to kind of push you. You will always feel like, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I'm pushed towards that direction. It's like an inclination from inside of you.
Okay. Apart from being frustrated, if you don't follow your passion, what are the other disadvantage of not following your passion?
Big disadvantage. You'll never live a fulfilled life. You never find fulfillment if you're not following something you're passionate about. You would always wish you were somewhere else when you are supposed to be you're supposed to be doing something that you're passionate about. So, and that's the worst experience ever. That's the worst feeling ever, because you can have a lot of money, get a lot of money from whatever you're doing, but if you're not satisfied in it, then it's the worst experience ever. It doesn't do you any good.
And I mean, you have said that we must not look at passion only when it comes to career-wise. What can be other things that people can be passionate about apart from being like career-orientated?
Okay. So, for example, people can be passionate about art, and in doing art, it doesn't have to be a career. It can be a hobby. And a hobby you can make money out of that hobby. People can be passionate about photography, and tell other people's stories through photography, but you find that their career what they make money out of is not really photography, but photography is just a side thing that they're passionate about. And in that way, I think also that would be a good way to balance. You can have a career, but make sure you follow your passion in one way or another. If a career is something you're interested in, then you will retire at some point, but you will still be able to continue with whatever you're passionate about on the side. So it doesn't have to be a career. So there's a whole lot of things that people can be passionate about. People can be passionate about writing, and tell stories or unpack complex ideas, because that's what they're passionate about. People can be passionate about singing. People can be passionate about teaching. They could do volunteer work. But it must be something that fulfills your inner self, because that is what passion requires. It will push you to that something that fulfills your inner self.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's very great. People like Nelson Mandela,
Sure.
people like Mother Teresa, people like, you name them, Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi.
Yeah.
Those people, I believe they follow their passion.
Sure.
And they have changed lives.
Yeah.
But when you look at the aspect of material gain, someone will say, okay, they were not that maybe rich, you understand? So I think I actually asked you this question earlier, that when someone think of following a passion and looking at such people and say, but I don't want to end like those people. Okay, yes, they change lives, but I want to make money. I want to be rich. But it seems, that is what I was saying, can really passion pay the bills? How can someone turn his passion into profit? That's what I want to ask.
Okay. It's not all passion that you can turn into profit, because you can be passionate about volunteering and you can't turn volunteering into profit.
Okay.
You can be passionate about philanthropy, doing philanthropic work, and you cannot really turn that into profit. But you can be passionate about writing, and then you can turn that into profit. So it differs with people's passions. But what I love to say is that life is not always about building an inheritance for yourself or a legacy for yourself, but it is more about making a difference in other people's lives. And you cannot make a difference in other people's lives and not leave a long-lasting legacy.
Exactly.
So the people like the Mandelas, the people like the Martin Luther Kings, they left a legacy because they made a difference in people's lives, regardless of how much they had when they died. But what the biggest treasure they had was the ability to make a difference in people's lives. They changed the world.
Exactly.
They completely changed the world.
Yeah.
The world we live in today is not what it was before Mandela and whoever he was working with in turning South Africa to become what it is today. Look at how many people's lives they have touched. They've been, even generations and generations that came after them are going to be benefiting from the fruits of their labor.
Exactly.
And that is the product of their passion. If they had money, it would only be limited to their families and whoever they would leave it to when they died.
And I think that's where purpose comes in, as you spoke about purpose. You spoke also in your book about the relationship.
Sure.
What is the role that the relationship plays when it comes to pursuing your purpose, or rather passion?
So one thing that is important to understand is that I believe when God created people, he created people not to be isolated. And I love to say we as human beings do not thrive in solitude, but we succeed and thrive in company. So if you are going to pursue your purpose in life, there are two things about relationships. It is either benefiting somebody else, and then there's a relationship, because that person is supposed to draw from the well of your wisdom or whatever it is that you have to give to the world as part of fulfilling your purpose. And then you also have people that you are drawing from, for you to be able to continue or to be sustained, you draw inspiration from. And then those relationships are very much important. So there are people who are supposed to benefit from you, and there are people that you benefit from in order to be able to benefit those who have to benefit from you.
So purpose cannot actually be fulfilled without the relationship.
There's no point, because At the center of purpose, it's not just you.
Yeah.
At the center of purpose, it's the people who are supposed to benefit from it. It is not about me. It is not about you. If whatever I discover as God's purpose for my life only revolves around me, I must know that it's not it. If it only revolves around me, I must know that that's just a selfish ambition.
Yeah.
It's not about what God has for my life, what God's purpose is for my life, because God's purpose always revolves around the people who are supposed to benefit from it.
You know, you remind me, Miles Monroe, the late Miles Monroe. I watched him one day. He was in a show like this one. So there was the person that he was interviewing. He told the person that he was interviewing that actually you need me, you know, for your interview to show.
Yes,
He said, and he was talking about purpose, because I mean, we know that Miles Monroe was the man that actually unpacked this topic of purpose. He was talking about purpose. So you remind me when you speak about that actually purpose is about people.
Yeah.
It's about changing lives. It's about
Yeah.
impacting. And there's no way that you can say you are doing your purpose, but you don't touch
You don't
other
make
people's
any
lives.
difference in
Exactly.
a person's life, so then it's not it.
But here's a tricky. How do you discover your purpose? You know, I've seen this. It's a difficult thing.
Yeah.
It's a challenging. Right?
Sure.
How do you discover your purpose? This is the question that people are asking, and you know, people are writing books about that. How do you discover your purpose? And people are still struggling on that issue.
I think there are two difficult things about, or two important things about discovering your purpose. Number one, it is that you will not be told by someone else what your purpose is. Your pastor cannot tell you, your parents cannot tell you, your teachers cannot tell you, the government cannot tell you what your purpose is. But it is only the Creator who can tell you what your purpose is. So that is why I believe it is very much important to have a strong relationship with your Creator, so that as the manufacturer can tell you that this is what I made you for, and then from that you can live a life of purpose. The second thing about purpose is that it is not outside there that you go look for it in the mines, that you go look for it in the fields. It is not something that is outside of you. It is something that is inside of you. So if you fail to spend time with yourself and introspect, so look within, then you'll never be able to discover your purpose. You will always look at what other people are doing and try to match that because it interests you or because it looks good, it looks nice. Then you would want to do that. But when you are doing it, you realize it doesn't fulfill the inner person, you know. So that's very much important. And then the other problem that we usually have, it is that when people think about the idea of purpose, there are certain things that they see as worthy to become purpose. And then there are certain things that they see as not worthy to become purpose. The things that would put you in a spotlight and make people praise you for them are seen as worthy of becoming purpose. But the things that would hide you and make you do things behind the scenes are not seen as worthy of purpose. And that is why people would run to those things that would put them on the spotlight and find that actually it's not really fulfilling because that's not what their purpose is, you know. So I think it is important for us to build a strong relationship with our Creator and to also spend time, because we have time for everyone else but ourselves. You know, we spend time with everyone but ourselves. Even when we are alone, we're always with people having more than 1 million voices speaking to us through our social media, we're always browsing the internet when we're by ourselves. We never take time to just sit still with our thought.
Yeah. And you know, what you are saying is very powerful about those things that put people on the spotlight, and actually people are running to that, thinking that is their purpose, only to find that actually they are in the wrong path. But how do we encourage such people who are hiding, as you have said, only to find that actually it's their purpose where they are, but they don't feel good on with what they are doing? For example, let's say someone is when you just come in, we saw the guys building there, you know, and when you look at them, they are dirty. You understand? You will say, no, this is not their purpose. So
I was not created to be
exactly. But if there are no such people, how will we be in this building? You understand? We need such people. Those people is their purpose, I believe. But how do we really encourage such people to feel good about themselves? And how do we encourage those who are running away from such purposes, whereas they are needed there?
It's the same thing I will say again. It is always about looking for that place where the inner person is fulfilled. You know, most of the time you would find that people are not happy with themselves because they are comparing what they are doing with what other people are doing, and they look at what other people are doing as if that is what is worthy of being my purpose. But when you realize, I think when you realize what you were created for, you will know that I'm in the right place, and you will take pride in being there because you know the difference that you are making in the lives of people, maybe even people that are in the spotlight, even though they may not recognize you, but because you know you are living your purpose and you are fulfilled from doing that, and that is all that matters at the end of the day. People are running away from their purpose, they will go back. It has a way of catching up with you. Sometimes people only realize it when they're old, and they would live with regrets because they have wasted a lot of their lives, a bigger portion of their lives doing things that, you know, were not really their purpose, and they only realize late in their lives that actually this is what I was supposed to be doing. And maybe by then they don't have as much energy, they don't have as much time to be able to do all those things. So it is important to just accept that this is what I'm purposed for, and live in that purpose, because that is where you will find fulfillment. Wherever you would go, when it's not part of your purpose, you will always be frustrated.
No, that's powerful. And I also think, Mr. Mthobisi, that as you have said, that even though people don't recognize you, you know, but as long as inside of you, you feel that fulfillment. I also think that as people, we must really change our mindset.
Sure.
For example, as you have said that, I mean, for example, just imagine if you go to a shop and the shop is dirty.
Yeah.
You understand? I mean, as much as it's a brand, it's a big brand.
Yeah.
But if the shop is dirty, you will not enter there and buy. It will not be simple for you to enter and buy. You understand? The shop will need cleaners to clean. They will need those cashiers whom we know that they are not actually getting a lot of salary, but the shop cannot run. You understand? The GM, the general manager who is sitting there at the desk, cannot operate the tills alone. You will need those cashiers. So I think we must change our mindset as people. For example, if you are having that high ranking position, to recognize such people, you understand? To really I think we must really, I don't know how can we do it, but I think we must change the mindset of such people.
I think it's also how the people who are on the spotlight, who are on the high positions, when they speak about the other positions or the other places, it is as if these are less of human beings because they're occupying those kinds of positions. Whereas it's not because they are less of human beings. Sometimes it's circumstances. That's not where they really belong. But sometimes that is what they want to do, you know, or that they're comfortable doing. That is what, you know, they're passionate about. So even how we speak about it is very much important for people to understand that there's value in all those things. And in how we remunerate the people who are doing those kinds of things is important to demonstrate that we acknowledge the value that they add to.
I mean, because at the end of the day, as we have said, that there are things that will not happen apart from such people. You understand? I mean, you yourself, as you think that you are better, but you must understand that your betterness, where does your betterness come from? You understand? You are where you are today because of the link of other people. It doesn't matter if that person was not important, but that link is actually...
So that you see, that's where the issue of relationships comes in. That's where relationships are important.
No, it is very powerful. Mr. Mthobisi say, this is powerful. You know? And this is inspiring. I want to know, what is your last message, to the viewers who are sitting there at home, and someone is passionate about a certain thing, but he was having that fear of the unknown, as people usually say. He was saying, but this thing, as you have said, is a small thing. I don't want to, I want something better, because this thing, I love this thing, but I don't think it's going to make me big. You understand? What can you say to such people?
Wow. I want to say 3 things. Number 1, passion will push you as far as your mind can imagine. So it is about how far can you imagine. It's not about how big a thing you're doing, but it is about how wide is your imagination, because as far as you can imagine, that is how far the passion would push you. Second thing, there will be people who will not understand when you pursue your passion. There are expectations that you should be pursuing 1, 2, 3, and 4, but you don't go for 1, 2, 3, and 4, you go to 5. And they will disapprove of you. That was my experience. They will disapprove of you until they realize that this actually works. And then they start claiming you as, my son. I was there, I raised you, and all those kinds of things. But do not mind those people. Focus on what you're passionate about. Focus on your purpose in life, because at the end of the day, that is where your fulfillment comes from.
If people want to get hold of you, to get your books, or maybe to watch your show,
Sure.
where can they find you?
They can find me on. I am on Instagram, Mthobisi Ndaba. I am on Facebook, Mthobisi Ndaba. There's also a Facebook page, Mthobisi Ndaba Motivation. That's where I post all the videos. And I'm also on YouTube. My Jumpstart show is available on YouTube. All the videos that we have done are available there on YouTube. It's Mthobisi Ndaba as well.
Sir, thank you so much for honoring the invite. And I'm so inspired. I believe my viewers are so inspired.
No, thank you very much.
And let's just continue to live our passion, to pursue our purpose, because that is where our fulfillment is.
No, thank you very much. I really appreciate the invite as well.
Thank you.
Sure.
And I believe that soon and very soon I'll be on Jumpstart also.
Sure, we can make that happen. We can make that happen. Who arrange?
Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mthobisi Ndaba, a social worker, inspirational speaker, and author, who is saying, pursue your purpose, pursue your passion, because that is where your fulfillment is. Do not mind about what people are saying. Just follow your heart. Do what you love. You are watching Inspired Conversations, Living the Legacy with a Legend. My name is Unkarabilo Isdomukoto, and I'm saying to you, the journey continues.